世界の終わりで生まれた光、今風の中。Chapter 14, Christmas Special! Merry Christmas, everyone! In celebration of the holidays, I'm going to make this chapter a Christmas special side story. Since it's not continuing directly after Chapter 13, just assume it takes pals sometime between R1 and R2. Also, sorry about not updating in a while. I was busy Christmasing with my family. D. Another part will be up soon. It was Christmas time! All of the world was celebrating, but Asia was more than any other country. This was because the communists and British outlawed Christmas because they are evils. But then Awesome killed them, so now Christmas is back and all the Asians are super happy about it. Awesome was flying over to Moscow in Liberty Prime. Even thought he destroyed Moscow back when Luch used it as his sky fortress. It was made with Russian engineering and therefore could never really be destroyed. It was all black and smoky and had fields of nuclear waste around it that made nuclear animals, and all of the funny spiral tops were missing except one. Awesome flew Asking Prime onto the one spiral top. He crashed through the side, which exploded and saw a bunch of people inside and melted their faces into jello with his Liberty lasers. But then he remembered the commies were gone and he owned Russia. Whoops! Sorry about that, he said. And everyone laughed except the dead people because they were killed. All of Awesome friends were waiting there for him. Lee and Orange-kun and Cullen and the samurai boss whose name I forget and Shirley and the high school and Tianzi were there. S2 was there too and she was wearing a sexy elf outfit with elf ears that looked sexy. So were all the other girls. Hey there S2, you look sexy, Awesome said and S2 made a blush. But then they had the sex on the floor. Shirley and Cullen and some other girls Awesome didn't know joined in too. Afterwards, Vladimir Putin walked over. Awesome made Putin the president of Russia after saving the country. This was because even though he was king, he wanted there to be freedom and justice, so he let Russia and China and Japan be their own countries, with their own presidents who worked for Awesome. Merry Christmas, your highness, said Putin. I just finished killing all the poor people in Russia like you asked me to. Awesome smiled and everyone cheered. Awesome didn't want there to be any poor people around, since poorness made people sad, and he didn't want anyone being sad during Christmas, because he is a nice and thoughtful person. Also, they might have been commies, and he didn't want them stealing rupees, Russia's national currency, with welfare. That must have been a lot of work, said Awesome. Not really. We just fed them to the nuclear monsters outside, Putin said, and they laugh again. That's great to hear! Awesome again! Why don't you start a Christmas party without me? I need to go to the washroom, he said and winked at S2, because he was actually going to have sex with her. Awesome and S2 went upstairs for sex while everyone else got the party started. The Black Knights brought Pizza Hut and everyone ate it while getting drunk on eggnog. Everyone was happy, but then there was a knock at the elevator. Lee walked over and answered it and got punched in the face. When the door opened, there was a dozen dudes in black armored suits with black masks with guns and gun blades, which looked evil. Leading them was a tall green monster man who was making an evil grin. I am the Grinch, and I am here to steal Christmas, he shouted. His minions walked over to everyone and poked them with their sword guns, which hurt. Hand over all your Christmas, they said, and shot the samurai guy, whose name I still don't remember, to death to show they meant business. Everyone handed over their Christmas presents since they didn't want anyone else dying since blood got the floor messy. Grinch laughed like a Bond villain and had his minions crush a bunch of the presents with their jackboots. Then they ate all the Pizza Hut and drank all the eggnog and chopped the Christmas tree down with their swords and ripped off the Christmas lights to tie the hostages up and kick the puppy. The Grinch laughed. Excellent. Now split up and search the Kremlin. Kill anyone you find and steal their presents. He laughed and they did. Some bunch of the minion went to the washrooms. They shot all the people who were in the stalls one at a time. When they reached the last stall, though, the door exploded and flew out and crushed the closest bad guy. Awesome was inside and so was S2, and they were naked because they were both sexing. Bastard. We will kill you, said the one bad guy and charged. Then he slipped on the floor because it was covered in cum from the sexing and fell and his head popped off. I don't think so, said Awesome nakedly as he stepped out. More bad guys charged and shot guns, but Awesome's eye glue with Geass. Suddenly all the bad guys exploded. And that's because I got a new Geass while sexing S2. The explosion Geass. Awesome looted the minion whose head fell off for his clothes/armor. Then he noticed something strange. Under his uniform, the bad guy wasn't a human, but a snowman! Santa Christ! Awesome cursed. They're made of snow! Then he saw that all the bad guys he exploded left snow on the walls instead of blood and bones and intestines like people would. Meanwhile, downstairs, the Grinch was pacing back and forth like mad. Grrr, he exclaimed. What is taking my snowmen so long? And then there was a boom bang boom noise coming from the chimney. Everyone turned around and saw a dead snowman body come down the chimney. There was a sign on it that the Grinch walked over and read, Now I have a machine sword. Ho, ho, ho. And then the body exploded. The explosion killed a bunch of people, but not the Grinch, because he was too tough for that. Grrr, said Grinch as he wiped the black explosion stuff off his face. It's just like they say. If you want something done right, kill the guy who's stopping you. Grinch walked over to one of his minions, only he wasn't a snowman wearing black armor. He was a human being wearing a black badass outfit with badass spiky black hair and a dragon tattoo and skull pauldrons. Saber El Badass. Go deal with this motherfucker. For Britannia, he said, and all the snowmen went, Hail Britannia. Saber evil laughed as he bit the head of a gingerbread man that Shirley spent a lot of time baking for Awesome, which made her sad and cry.
I'll do what I just did to that gingerbread man to him,
he shouted and started climbing up the chimney. Putin was not amused. He stared at the Grinch angrily with his cold Russian eyes, which was so intense it caused some of the snowmen to melt. Let us go or else. Everyone who was a bad guy laughed. Or else? Or else what? Putin started screaming like Goku when he entered Super Saiyan, only he sounded like a bear. He lifted his back up with so much strength it lifted all the hostages who he was tied to with the Christmas lights. Then he did a backflip and everyone came falling down and crushed the Grinch. The snowmen screamed and charged with their guns and swords. Putin flipped around again and began kicking them so fast and hard with his legs it was almost like Suzaku, and the snowmen exploded. He picked up one of their guns with his legs and shot a bunch of snowmen in their carrot noses, destroying the source of their power. He grabbed some more with his legs and judo threw them into each other until they were all dead. Putin picked up a sword with his legs and cut the Christmas lights to free everyone. When he did though, the Grinch climbed out of his body pile and escaped too. Putin threw his sword at the Grinch, which was covered in electricity from cutting through the wires. The Grinch laughed and his eye flashed Geass and the sword stopped. Baka, you can't stop me with that. I have the elemental Geass. It gives me power over all the elements, he said. Grinch licked all the lightning off the sword and then spat it back at Putin, who used a hostage for cover. Grinch escaped through the chimney. Meanwhile, on the roof, Awesome exploded every snowman in his way as he ran up to the roof. If I can get to my private helicopter in time, I can escape safely, he said. But then, when he got to the roof, his helicopter exploded! Saber El Badass walked through the flaming wreckage, which actually felt really nice since it was cold outside. He was holding a rocket minigun.
Awesome! It's great to see you again.
He lied.
Now I can finish killing you.
Not before I finish killing you for finishing killing my parents! Awesome retorted.
Let's see if your explosions are matched for mine.
Saber shooted and shouted his minigun. Hundreds of rockets flew out and Awesome shot back at them with his explosion Geass. The explosions were so huge and powerful they destroyed the roof, then started destroying every floor in the Kremlin until they were at the ground floor. Saber kept yelling as he squeezed the trigger, but then stopped when he realized he was out of missiles.
Shit!
Awesome walked over and used his military training to disarm Saber and break his arm. It's over! I found out your evil palm!
Oh, really?
Saber. Yes, awesome. You're not just working with the Grinch to steal Christmas. You're going in for Britannia!
How did you figure that out?
Asked Saber. I heard the snowman yelling Hail Britannia down the chimney. Oz heard awesome. But that's not the real plan, said a voice, and it was the Grinch. He was standing on top of the chimney, which had survived the explosion. He laughed as he dropped down and tore off the Christmas stockings and stepped on them. After this, we're gonna steal Christmas from Britannia, and then America, and then all the rest of the world. And then we'll destroy all the Christmas cheer. Grinch was making evil to laugh when he suddenly heard jingling bells and stopped. Up in the sky there was a sleigh with flying reindeer and a guy as fat and old as the Emperor going ho ho ho! It's Santa! Awesome said and everyone cheered. Santa flew his sleigh toward the chimney. Grinch laughed evil. My oldest rival. We meet again. He flashed his Geass eye and the Christmas tree started spiraling up to Santa. He used his Geass again and fire appeared at the bottom of the chimney. Santa kept going ho 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 and Rudolph destroyed the Christmas tree using his laser nose. All the other reindeer used ice magic to freeze the fire. Grinch ordered his snowmen to shot at Santa's sleigh. Before they could though, they got shot in the nose by arrows. Santa's elves jumped out of some nuclear Christmas trees and began shooting at the snowmen with their bows. Legolas and Tauriel were leading them and kicking lots of ass. They shot arrows at Grinch and pushed them away with the wind. Then they charged the snowmen and there was lots of deading on both sides. And then the nuclear monsters showed up from outside the Kremlin and started eating them. The chimney exploded as Santa's sleigh rammed through the bottom. Bricks flew everywhere and killed some people. This is the final straw! You've stolen Christmas for the last time! Olded Santa. It is a shame that it must end this way. Brother! Grinch laughed still. End this way for you. You're a pacifist, remember? You can't kill me. Santa smiled. Ho ho ho! Oh, but I brought a friend who can! Mein Luftkissenfahrzeug ist vulnerable! Yelled the Krampus. He jumped out of Santa's sleigh with an MP40 and shot the Grinch. The Grinch screamed as his body was ripped apart by bullets. The Krampus jumped on him and began ripping him apart with his claws and fangs. Mein Herz brennt! Feuer frei! Santa just went ho 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 as the Krampus ate Grinch. He walked over to Osman Co, who bowed because that is what you do when you see Santa. Ho ho ho! My children, you have all helped save Christmas and made my birthday a wonderful one, he olded. And because of that, I have gifts for all of you. First, he gave Awesome a present. For Awesome, who has learned the true meaning of generosity and kindness, a machine sword. But not just any machine sword, the most powerful one in the universe. Strong enough to rival Saber's legendary Z-Saber. Second was Putin. Under Putin, the most loyal of Awesome's companions. I am offering you personal kung fu lessons at my dojo in the North Pole, he said. Putin and Santa bowed to each other. Third was S2. Onto S2. Here are some condoms so you can have better sex with Awesome, he said and went ho ho ho. But while everyone was celebrating, there was a missile explosion. It killed a bunch of hostages, which caused blood to explode everywhere, and since the missile was a nuclear, it exploded green, so it was red on green, which are the colors of Christmas. Flying in the sky was Uber Death Reaper 9001.
Awesome!
Shouted Saber.
This isn't over yet. We still have to have an epic nightmare fight.
I agree, said Awesome. He jumped into Askier Prime, which was still parked in the Kremlin, and flew into the sky. Uber Death Reaper 9001 swung its Z-Saber, and Askier Prime swung its machine sword. There was a shockwave so powerful it blew up all the snow in Serbia and created a massive snow tornado. Awesome and Saber sword fought nightmares inside the nuclear ice tornado, while the elves and snowmen and nuclear monsters fought below. Santa flew up in his sleigh and waved at them. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night, he said, and winked at the viewer. Oh wait, I mean, Merry Christmas everyone!